This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Thursday, December 19th, 2024. And I've got the excellent Nick Gray here with me. Hi, Nick. How are you?
I am as good as I can be. It was a long weekend, finally recovering though.
Yes, I think we kind of all came home from the OnePlus cruise, which was delightful, but having to do a ton of stuff because we couldn't really get it done. I did manage to get some work done on that cruise though. I edited the podcast and put it up. 3 gigabytes went up in 3 hours on that ship. Not bad considering.
Yeah, the speeds were quite a bit faster than what I was expecting. Honestly, there was it was more about areas on the ship that didn't have as good service, and that
there's some dead
kind of was
zones.
hurting. And like you go up to the top deck, and there's a lot of people there, so of course there's going to be a little bit more, latency and lower speeds. But in my cabin, we had great speeds most of the time.
Yeah, same. Considering where we were, right? There's,
Oh yeah,
it's not like
considering you're out at sea with no land in sight.
That's what I'm saying. The fact that I was able to upload the video on YouTube for the podcast in 3 hours, 3 gigabytes, that was great. It's an hour and 15-minute video. It's 1080p. I crunched the quality down a little bit, but other than that, it still looked great. So, it's a bit of a slow week. It's just before the holidays. Thanks for joining me. And I want to talk about this year's best phones. Not necessarily like the 5. 5 is a good number. I like that. But if you have an extra one, it's not a big deal. I have some thoughts about that. And then we got a bunch of news items. Some of them are pretty exciting, and some of them are kind of rumor leakish. So I kind of want to go through all of that with you. So, phones of the year.
We've had some good ones.
It's been a great year for phones. I feel like I had so many decisions to make on this one. Where are you at? Do you feel that this was a better year? I felt the last few years, every year, it's just like you can't go wrong almost. It's like buying a car today.
I think what we've finally gotten to is a plateau of certain types of technologies that have gotten us to a place where even if you buy a phone that's not even in the top 10, 15, or 20, you're still going to get a good phone. So it becomes harder and harder to say these are the top 5 just because there are so many that are really, really good. Go back 5 years ago and there were so many trash phones, right? Like you'd pick something up and you use it for a day and you're like, I'm never coming back to this one again. You'd see so many reviews, giving, 6 to 7 stars, a lot of, within that segment. But then now it's like everything's an 8+ out of 10. Like it's really, you have to nitpick in order to pick things apart to find, one that truly stands out. And so it honestly comes down to personal preference for what you're looking for these days. But there are some that for me did stand out this year.
I agree. I think that it made it tougher. I made it tougher to decide because almost every phone I'm touching, I'm excited about in some way. I'm like, oh, this has this and this is cool. And, la, la, la. So for me, it was more like, okay, how do I distill it? And then, there's always like the phones that are standards, right? Like phones that every year are going to deliver, right? That you just cannot go wrong with. For example, iPhone. For example, Galaxy, especially the S series, right? So it's like, you can't not have those in there. So they kind of take up a lot of the top 5 already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of have to start looking at, because, obviously I've played with a lot of phones from China that were really amazing. Like most recently, the entire Find X8 series, right? Like just incredible phones. And they are 2024 phones despite being late year releases, right? So we can't eliminate them. And it's kind of a bummer because, we're going to talk about OnePlus 13. There's some news around that I can't include that because it's not out, even though it's out in China. Because, I was thinking the 12 to me would be one of my picks for this year. Of course the 12R as well. But I think the 12 marked the return of OnePlus to form I mean, the Open did too, but the Open was a folding phone. This is the return of OnePlus to making exactly what we want and what we expect from them. Would you agree?
Well, I would say so. And part of the reason for that was the return to a reasonable price for the phone.
Yeah.
Like OnePlus for about 2 years kind of stepped out of their boundaries on pricing for their flagship tier device and kind of like they didn't deliver what the other flagship manufacturers were delivering. They didn't have top tier cameras. They didn't have IP ratings. They didn't have wireless charging. And when you start charging $1,000 for a phone that emits those features, you just kind of get pushed to the side and kind of forgotten, even though the performance is really good.
Absolutely, and especially when you can walk into a Verizon store, a T-Mobile or AT&T store, and just buy a very competent, probably better because it's not lacking these features, Samsung phone, if you're looking at Android or iPhone, right? So, and those are readily available through the carrier, not sold only by OnePlus online, Best Buy, Amazon. So I agree with you. I think that this is why I want to pick at least the OnePlus 12 as one of mine, because, or 12R, pick one. It's just like they're both amazing in their category, and they keep me hoping that we get more choices in this market. Because, those of you who are listening from India right now or the UK or Australia are laughing at this, right? But we don't get the BBK Group's phones. We get the OnePlus is it. So it's like for us, it's a big deal that they actually deliver something that is priced right, has no missing features. And I think the other thing we have to give the OnePlus 12 credit for, and I think the Open started this as well, is the beginning of OnePlus making decent cameras, right? Like this was to me the pivotal. There were a few moments in the past where they're like got close, but I feel like you can throw the 12 in with the S24 Ultra. Or maybe not the Ultra, but the
regular S24,
the Plus, right?
The Plus, or
no
the regular
problem,
Pixel,
because it's missing extra telephotos and stuff. But Pixel, exactly, you can put it in there now, which is like not something we could say before. So I'm excited about that. So that's one of my picks.
Yeah. So for one of my picks, I'm gonna do a reverse countdown. So
you're going top to bottom here. You're like ordering them.
Yeah, maybe let's just because I think there's something to it. So number 5 pick for me is a newer brand. They've been around for a couple of years now. The Nothing Phone 2A. This is a low-end device. We were talking, I think it launched at $350.
Yeah.
And technically, I don't believe it's technically available in the US unless you sign up as a developer and you can buy it from their website. All you have to do is give them your email address. But this is a sub $500 phone and like $150 less. So this is competing with a Moto G device. But as far as design goes, this is heads and bounds. Like the amazing design. Yes, it is a plastic polycarbonate back on it, though it's still transparent like the other Nothing phones. But the overall fit and finish of this device is just so exquisite for what it is. Cameras were okay, just like you would expect from a device in this category. Actually, I think they were better than what you would expect.
I mean, it does have OIS, which is at this price point really rare to find.
Incredibly rare. But then the software experience is what really sells me on Nothing. They have one of the best software experiences, especially for a company that's coming out and has only released a handful of phones at this point. They are ahead of the curve when it comes to having a refined and unified software experience from top to bottom, thoroughly thought out. Every nook and corner of the operating system is customized to give you that unique feel. I think this goes back to like the original MIUI, when MIUI was launched before Xiaomi launched their first phones. It completely skinned Android and gave us a unique feel when stock Android was just so bare bones that you really had to use your imagination to think that this was cool. And then MIUI kind of gave that whole fit and finish to what Android should be. And operating systems have caught up. A lot of OEMs have done their custom UIs on top of Android, and even Google's given us their own version of what
100%.
the Google version
Yep.
of Android is. But the Nothing operating system is so good that I just had to include even a $350 phone in my top 5 this year.
I agree. And we're going to talk about the new OS 3 that's finally available now. It's funny you brought that up because Nothing is definitely in my top 5, but it's not what you think. It's the CMF Phone 1 for me. And
nice.
The reason for that is like it was really hard to pick. Like they're all the Phone 2, Phone 2A, there's Phone 2A Plus as well. There's the new glowing edition, limited edition. The 2A is kind of like, they read so many editions of that phone, really awesome. But for me, what really made me go, wow, was the CMF Phone 1 from Nothing. Because it's 200 something. And yes, you miss OIS. Yes, no NFC, but that's because it's not really meant for the US market. Those are the two big drawbacks. But that display, holy crap, for 200, I've never seen a $200 phone with a display this good. 120 hertz, 1080p AMOLED. The design of the phone, again, plastic, interchangeable cases like back panels or whatever you want to call them. Like reminds me of back in the Nokia days with the Lumias and stuff. Just amazing. And, the design touches. The camera doesn't suck despite not having OIS now. You got to adjust your expectations like the 2A. But overall, and huge battery, fast charging, like 30 watt or something. It's just incredible for the money. Like it just blows my mind, And I had to include a Nothing of some kind. And it does run the same OS. So, and again, it does run that OS on a Dimensity 7300 and it just screams. And in fact, that's the same chip that's on the 2A, which is amazing that again, $100 are shaved off, but they're still managing to have like some performance on that phone. So definitely one of my picks as well. What's your next one?
My next one coming in at number 4, the iPhone 16 Pro. Now, I'm not an iPhone user in any way, shape, or form. I mainly use the device because of the cameras and doing all of my camera comparisons. And though Apple didn't have any significant improvements this year as far as the overall camera performance over last year's, yes, it was better. But we finally got the regular Pro with all the camera features as the Pro Max, because the previous year they reserved the 5x zoom to the Pro Max and didn't give it to the regular Pro. And now we got it on the 16 Pro. So having a level playing field between the Pro and the Pro Max, but not having to purchase that larger phone just to get those extra camera features, I think was a good move on Apple's part and gives the people really what they want in those Pro devices without having to go with that extra large screen if they don't really want it. So typically wouldn't include an iPhone on my list, but I think they deserve some credit for that.
Look, I don't disagree. I bought an iPhone 16 Pro and came from a Pro Max the year before. And because I wanted the best cameras, I scaled down. But my pick for Apple is actually the iPhone 16, the base.
Oh, yeah? You love the new design of
whatever
that?
storage tier. The reason for that is there's a number of reasons. They have finally closed the gap with the Pro significantly. The only thing that I think is missing to get me on board, of course, the telephoto, but that the most important thing that's missing to me is 120 hertz display. That is a big miss. And I really, really hope Apple gets the message because, lately they've done stuff. Like they added ports back to the MacBook Pro. They didn't make it as thin and cooling is better, despite the fact that it's running M chips that don't need as much cooling. They've done wonderful things that we've asked for, like USB-C. Well, that was EU. But, I'm just saying there's a lot of things they've done right. I want them to be 120 hertz. But the 16 grabs my attention because it is so close to being a Pro device. You take the telephoto out of there and you've got, that's it. And the colors and the design and just like you're getting so much performance for the money in an Apple ecosystem that I'm really impressed. Like I have in the past bought the non-Pro phone, like the 12 I had the 12 non-pro,
Mhm.
and it was sufficient for me because I only do video, really. I only need the main camera for that, or the ultra wide maybe. But I think for most people, if you're looking at, like, I think it's the same. And I hate to say this, but please listen to me, people. You do not need a MacBook Pro. You do not need an iPhone Pro. You do only just need a MacBook Air, and you only need an iPhone regular. Like 99% of you will be 100% fine.
100%.
Even zooming on the regular iPhone is fine up to 5x, not a problem. And I think that, good for Apple that the people are buying MacBook Pros. Like when I see students in arts buying a MacBook Pro and they're not illustrators, I'm like, why are you buying this? Like my
Marketing.
MacBook Air is
Marketing.
heavy
100%
lifting
marketing.
every day and doesn't even break a sweat, and it's 3 years old. Like seriously, you don't need it. I know it's marketing. I'm just saying, like, I'm just a PSA for those people who have to use their own money for this stuff. Anyhow, that's my iPhone pick. I think
Oh, you forget that people aren't using their own money. They're using credit cards and they think things are free
or
and
they're
they
using
never have to
grants,
pay
or they're
for them.
using maybe they have like they got a grant
They're like,
to go to school.
future me will pay for this, and then they pay, $4,000 for a laptop that actually cost them $2,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sad.
yeah,
But look,
as far as the iPhone goes, if I was choosing purely off of design, the regular iPhone 16 would have been my choice. I think it's one of the best looking iPhones that we've had.
that
in
blue one,
years.
I want the blue one.
The blue and the pink one,
The
man.
pink
Like
too.
I would have sported the pink one just walking around.
Yeah.
I debated for a little bit. I'm like, do I want to buy it? Do I want to buy it? And I was only making that decision based off of the looks of the phone. I didn't need it for anything except I wanted the pink or the blue one, like one of those two.
Same.
I had it in my shopping carts a couple different times. And I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't need it.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I think Apple actually hit it out of the park with the design of that one this year. We've been
I actually
looking
think-
to Apple to give us a new design for a couple of years now, and I think they hit it on the mark.
Yeah. I think the 16 Pro is boring AF. Like I have,
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I picked that copper color because I was like, I haven't done goldish in a while. But every time I look, it's in a case right now. Actually, I have it right here. It's recording backup audio right now, and so I've got in a Pitaka case. Thank you, Pitaka, for awesomeness. But like, it's like, look at this kind of goldish brown. It's ugly. It's boring. It's like, why is it that Apple cannot make us a Pro phone that looks like the purple Galaxy S24 Ultra is titanium and it's purple and it's amazing. That's the one that I have. And Segway, it's my other choice, one of the choices. And I it's a tough one because there are so
I think
many.
we matched on that one. So yeah, number 3 for me is the Galaxy
It's
S24
not my number.
Ultra.
Like, I'm not going by any numbers. Just you are. I know you are, and I respect that. I'm just saying I have not ordered them. Maybe I'll order them at the end. But like the Galaxy S24 Ultra, like every year, the Ultra is just so complete. Like if you're buying non-Chinese hardware and you're stuck in North America in particular, and you want the best hardware on Android, the absolute kitchen sink, like nothing is missing. Headphone jack, SD card. Okay, some things are missing.
Some things are missing.
The point is, like, very little is missing, and in modern times, and I feel like this phone just nails everything. The only thing that holds me back from saying I want it for me, and this is just for me, is the software. I hate One UI. It is terrible. It is objectively the worst skin that you can buy on a Western phone.
Do you know what gives me hope though? Have you played with the beta?
No.
For the new One UI?
I will be playing with it soon enough, and it won't be in beta, and I will have CS between now and then.
Yeah, so like it is coming. So like if you want to play with One UI in beta, you can actually do it on an S24 device. You just have to go and opt in for the beta,
is that simple?
and then it gives. Yeah, you just opt in for the beta within the phone, and you get an update notification within a minute or two, and you can install it right there. It's similar to what a Pixel beta is like. So
yeah,
but they have this is the most significant UI update that they've done since they've rebranded as One UI.
Yeah.
Like they've changed everything, but my number one gripe is going away. Your side-scrolling app drawer.
I know. I heard
going vertical.
Finally. That is my only big gripe, to be honest. I mean,
and it's like I didn't install the beta for the longest time, and then I saw somebody posted on TikTok about the new vertical scrolling app drawer, and I was like, oh, I updated my Galaxy S24 Ultra immediately and installed the beta within minutes. I was like, oh, sold right there, 100%.
By now.
But like the software on Samsung has been my main complaint for years. Like I finish every review saying, I love the hardware. Samsung's done an incredible job. They have really good cameras. Performance is great. The software is what keeps me from using it past a review cycle. And I'm not on the S24 Ultra right now with the beta full time. I'm still, using my Pixel device for my daily, but it's so close. Like there's still some bugs in the software that need to be hammered out. But with, the Galaxy launch coming up early Q1, I think I might be sticking to a Samsung device for a little bit.
And we will be talking about that shortly as well. We're keeping that for the news. Look, I agree with you 100%. Here's my thing. I want the Samsung fans out there to understand. I can adapt to any OS that I'm given. Like, it's fine. I will work around it, right? But it's just like, I get frustrated using it day to day. It's like the little things that are just, everything seems so overly complex for no reason. Like, here's why I like Google and Pixel and Nothing's OS and Moto's OS is because it is so clean and simple and responsive, and it just gets the job done. It doesn't get in your way. Like, yes, you have so much options and customization things you can do on Samsung, but it just gets in the way. And, I have to give credit to OnePlus for the 15 release of Oxygen OS. I've got it on my 12 right now, and I love it. I've got it on the Open as well, and I love it. It's so responsive, and Nothing is so responsive. Like, when you come from that and you go to a Samsung phone, you feel like you're walking in molasses, navigating around to get things done. I don't know how, you guys who are Samsung fans out there, I don't blame you. The hardware is impeccable, but you guys got to play with a Nothing phone. Try it out because it just will blow your mind. Like, even Oxygen OS 15, like, it's just so fast. Like, same with the Oppo Find X8 series, like ColorOS 15 just screams. It's just so quick. I don't know why we can't get that on everything. Google, not so great at the quick part. Neither is Moto, but it still feels less like, to me, Pixel OS or Pixel UI and Motorola, whatever their skin is, gets less in my way than the Samsung skin.
I will say the Motorola skin I like it because it's one of the ones that's closer to a stock version of Android.
Feels normal.
Google's taken their Pixel software a little bit in their own direction, as they're inclined to do.
Which is ironic, isn't it?
But like they're saying this is the Pixel experience versus the Android experience, right?
Exactly.
Like, here's the bare bones. But what the BBK group has done across Realme, OnePlus, and Oppo. Not so much
Vivo, no.
Not so much Vivo. There's starting to see some hints of that. But not so much Vivo. But it's pretty much a unified software experience across those three brands. And I think they've spent the money to make sure you feel that across all three.
I agree. All right, let's move to another phone. Is it my turn or yours?
I'll let you go.
Oh, man. Okay, you picked the S20. I picked the S24. You picked the S24. Yeah. So Ultra. So now this is a tough one. Okay, all of Pixel 9 Pro series, all of it. Pro regular because it's small and it's unbelievably good. And if I wasn't so addicted to big screens, I would pick that this year. But I'm addicted to big screens, and so the XL would be my pick. But I'm also addicted to the OnePlus Open. And since the OnePlus Open is not a Pixel, but there is now a Pixel 9 Pro Fold, that's basically the hardware of the OnePlus Open minus the great chipset with the Pixel software. It means this is the one that I'm rocking as my daily right now. Like it's a black one and a green case, in case you're wondering. It's the official case. I didn't pick the colors. This is my review in it, so I had to go with that. I would have run probably the porcelain, but I think the green case is rocking. So yeah.
So I will agree with you on the Pixel front. I actually have the Pixel 9 Pro Fold as my number 2 phone of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I am rocking right now the Pixel 9 Pro XL as my daily.
Yes, you
and
are.
I wanted to do the Baby Pro at this number 2 spot. But after using the Baby Pro, I call it the Baby Pro because
It's such a good
it's
name. I
so
love
cute.
it. Absolutely.
They should call it the Pixel 9 Baby Pro.
Can we just do a quick tangent aside and say that, wow, the industrial design. Like, okay, I went into it.
Superb.
Like,
superb
okay,
on
look,
all fronts.
I went into it. You know, I like my squarish phones. Like, I want a 2001 Space Odyssey, like Obelisk, whatever it's called thing. Like, I love the Red Magics and I love the S Ultra from Samsung because of it. But so I kind of came from there, right? Because you look at Pixel 7 Pro, 6 Pro, they were very rectangular. And when I saw the leaks of the 9 Pro or the 9 in general, I was like, oh, it's an iPhone copycat. But then I held it and I used it and oh my God, it works. And that visor, it works so hard. Like that visor design, I think it's so much better than the rectangular one. Like the pill shape is so good. I love the industrial design on the Pro and Pro XL. And, I think that the iPhone likeness is there for sure, especially when you look at the front. And it's a bit weird for me because I don't like this phone. I don't like it as much. It's funny that like they're so similar, yet I think there's something about holding the Pixel that feels better.
I will say Google does have a better camera module design on the back of the phone. And
yes,
everyone's been saying this year that, there's so many phones that have the iPhone design on the front. Let's be clear. There is no design on the front of any of these phones.
Yeah.
It's just glass with a thin metal bezel for protecting the glass. And then that is it. There's no design to it. There's like, I need people to stop saying it's the iPhone design because it's a lack of design.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's
like,
subtractive design.
If you say draw a border and then put a display inside that border, that's what all of these phones look like. There is no design to it. Anybody can do it. Apple might have been the first one to do that because they did the edge-to-edge glass way back in the day. But I'm sure someone 10, 20 years before Apple drew a rectangle with curved edges and like, hey, we should make a phone that looks like this. Yeah, but I don't know. But as far as the Pixel goes, I'm with you 100%. Like, I do love the squared off edges of the phone, not having a curve there.
Yeah.
The metal, when you get to the glass, is curved a little bit, but the fact that is flat glass across the front, flat glass across the back. I think it's just a whole lot more refined than so many of the designs that we keep seeing that have, kind of like bubbly glass on the edges, or what used to be called 2.5D glass back in the day. Remember the Droid DNA?
Well, you don't have to go that
Verizon.
far. I think just the Oppo Find X8 series, right? Like the Pro.
Back in the day, that's like the Droid DNA was the first one to do it, right? They made this whole big deal about 2.5D glass. People were like, oh my gosh, you can have curved glass on a phone. And like, yeah. Just wait, we'll get a lot more curvy than that over the years.
Moto Edge original, remember that?
Samsung Galaxy Edge.
Or no, I think the worst offender was the Mate 30 Pro, the one that didn't have the buttons.
There was the LG banana phone. If you want curved glass.
Well, no, but I'm saying like waterfall, like where the edge went really like.
Yeah.
Look, I agree, but I want to point out that the Find X8 Pro today, just the Pro model, has the 2.5D glass. And I think so there's a Realme GT7 Pro. And I honestly, I like how thin these phones look and feel, despite it still having a flat display. So I think there is some quote unquote design in that. I think that you're right. The Apple has subtracted so much design that you can just draw the thing with like no arts degree, right? Like basically the rounded edges, the what's it called, the radii, the corner radii are the only defining factor anymore, it seems, right?
Yeah.
On these slab side phones. But I do like that some companies like Realme with the GT7 Pro and Oppo with the Find X8 Pro are doing the 2.5D glass, and you still have a slab side, but it's less high and it feels like their phones are thinner than they should be somehow, you know? So I don't know. But I just love the design this year, and I love everything about it. Like they nailed the build quality, they nailed the performance, cameras, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so for me, for the Pixel 9 Pro Fold being on the list, last year's Fold from Google was not good. Like
I
I
like
was
the
not.
idea.
Yeah, I like the idea, but the implementation of the device, the implementation of the
Oh, it was a
software,
prototype. That thing
the
felt like it was going to
cameras,
fall apart. I know.
it was not a good phone. Like I think there were a few people within the tech space that reviewed the device and then said, "Oh, this is the phone I'm going to use for the rest of the year." Yes, there were people who bought it, and I'm sure some people really loved it. But this year, I can't tell you how many people within the tech space that we saw walking around with the Pixel 9 Pro Fold after the review cycles. I'm actually looking at, what phone am I going to take to CES, and
Ooh, we should talk about that.
I'm taking the Pixel 9 Pro Fold to CES. Like, as far as a productivity device for stressful events, being able to pull up my calendar, looking at emails side by side with my calendar, just so much going on during a trade show. That's the type of device that I want. Google really nailed the software experience this year on that device. I do think OnePlus still has the edge when it comes to foldables with the 3 app and apps sliding in and out and off the screen to the side or to the top or the bottom. That is definitely one step up from what Google's done so far. But I think Google's really done the overall experience a little bit better. And I think the 9 Pro Fold is, for me, the best foldable of the year. But yeah, number 2 on my list for overall devices.
Yeah. So that's why I said the Pro 9, the series of Pixels, because they're all good in their own way. Like you want small, great. You want a large phone bar, great. You want a folding phone, I think it's the best folding phone of North America of the year. But that brings me to my next one. I don't know, it's probably going to be more than 5.
You're going to keep going.
Yeah, we're just going to keep going. Honor Magic V3, the hardware, just for the hardware. That thing, I still have yours. Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, just as a reminder, you need to give me my phone back.
Do you want it back?
Yeah, I'll bring it to CES. So
okay, I'll return it to you at CES.
Eventually. But that is a great phone, yes.
It shows you where a folding phone can go and without sacrificing build quality and I think like durability. It seems like you
and
don't
thickness,
have to handle it. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing that impresses the most, but that's not compromising everything else. Even the camera system hasn't been, I think, compromised. They don't still have the best cameras at Honor, but I think that's not so much a hardware problem as they need to tune their cameras differently.
Yeah, so as far as cameras go, I think they actually beat out what Samsung has on their foldable.
But compared to like Pixel or Open, right? Like
as far as the hardware goes, I actually think they beat out the Pixel.
Everyone.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
But Honor still needs to work on its overall image processing and video quality in order to make it compete a little bit better. As far as the hardware and the sensors that they've put in that device, I think they're above the competition. But essentially, you have to turn off all the manual modes. You have to shoot raw images and then edit them in order to get something that turns out better. It's really hard to do it on the the auto modes that these things are auto set to.
Yeah. So I just want to bring that up because we're talking folding phones. And to me, I haven't really played with the Vivo. I haven't really played with the Xiaomi, unfortunately. I've played with, that's it. I'm really, the only ones I've handled this year are Pixel, Galaxy, Open is old now, but it's still great. And of course the V3, and the V3 really shows you where things are going. And honorable mention as an aside to the Mate XT, which is basically a V3 with an extra panel in terms of thickness. It's
I actually
kind of
have
amazing.
the last year's version of the V2, but the Porsche designed one.
Oh,
and it's fantastic. It's a fabulous device as far as the design goes. Again, the software on Honor phones and the cameras, whatever. But as far as the build quality, fit, and finish, it is an exquisite device and something that I'm going to be holding on to for a very long time.
Yeah, you're keeping that one. All right. Well, Do you have any other phones that stand out for you?
That brings me to my number one phone of the year.
You're actually using the scale here. So this is
The
your
Big
best.
Kahuna, a phone that no one bought and you cannot buy. I mean, some people bought because this is a China exclusive. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra. With its, it was the first device with two periscope cameras, one for the 3X and one for the 6X.
Correct.
I can't believe, it was the 6X. It has a two-tone finish on the back with glass and leather. Depending on the version, you can get black on black, or you can get a blue and silver, or I think a silver and tan.
Correct.
And I absolutely love this phone. This is, so just to give you context, this phone is China only. You can't use English on the phone when you set it up, but because it's China only, they didn't do a great job with the software. So you find Chinese throughout the phone and English language that really doesn't make sense. You can fix
most of it, though.
You can fix most of it.
Google Pay worked for me.
It doesn't come with the Google Play Store installed.
No, you have to actually manually sideload.
This.
Yeah.
You have to do a couple other tweaks to make this work in the Western markets. But even though all that should be huge detractors, this phone, again, we were talking about BBK Group and their software experience. The UI, this is their previous generation. I'm sure I should probably boot it up now to see if there's a software update that can be installed on it, because there's probably a couple. But even their software last year or earlier this year, it would have been essentially the same software on the OnePlus 12 when it launched. Incredible software. The UI is intuitive. It's fast. It's running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, right?
Yes, it is.
I can't.
3. Absolutely.
3. But the cameras, like this has a 1-inch sensor. The camera bump on the back of this phone is like 3 miles high.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's like being in like, I don't know, Arizona. It's a mess. It's a mesa.
Yeah, it's a mesa. It's a mesa up there. But the 1-inch sensor is fabulous. You get some incredible shots. But then you move over to the 3X zoom that, while on every other phone that was on the market at the time, and even now, besides BBK Group devices, that 3X zoom is typically just a standard zoom lens, which means you have to have a pretty tiny sensor just to fit it in. But they took a periscope zoom and used that for that sensor, which means their sensor is about double the size of any other typical 3X zoom camera, which means the portrait shots that you get out of this, even without turning portrait mode on, you get a natural bokeh. And then they said, hey, that's not enough.
We need another periscope,
a second periscope camera, and let's slap a 6X zoom on top of that. It's exquisite in every sense
and I would
of the
like
word.
to
Besides
mention
the fact that there's all these hurdles to get actually up and running for English language people, you will not be disappointed with this phone
100%.
in any way, shape, or form.
And I would like to remind everyone, it has 4 50 megapixel sensors
on the back.
And I took it to Antarctica as my main camera phone to take a once-in-a-lifetime photos.
You
and
took
I
some
have
great shots.
No regrets, because you know what? That's the phone I should have taken. But here's the thing. I agree with your pick, except that I have a hard time deciding between that phone as my main, most exciting camera phone of the year and the Xiaomi 14 Ultra that I got after I came back from Antarctica. And here's the thing. I think overall, balance-wise, I think the X7 Ultra is the better hardware choices in terms of cameras. But the images coming out of the Xiaomi, the color science of the Leica, it appeals to me more somewhat. And also the variable aperture on the main sensor opens up, which is also a 1-inch sensor, opens up a whole bunch of things. So now, let's remind ourselves that the Xiaomi 14 Ultra also has 4 50 megapixel sensors, also has 2 telephotos, but one is the 3X is not it's not a periscope because the sensors are not as big. And then it has a 5X, not a 6X, which I think,
6X.
yeah.
That one's give or take. But like, Yeah, they were incredibly close. I would say if you like the more stylized, moody photos, the Xiaomi is definitely the way to
That's kind
go.
of what it is for me.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is because this is available as a Western phone, or at least if it was a China phone, it was really easy to set up as a Western phone. It's a little easier to live with at 1st, like when you set it up. But also the camera kit, the grip, with all the stuff being programmable, the extra battery in there, and the fact that you can put standard filters. Like I have a what's it called, a polarizer. So taking car photos with that phone, I can polarize and remove the reflections, like the harsh reflections from the sunlight on the car paint.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, there's a little things like that. I think Oppo had an opportunity to do that, and I'm hoping that the X8 Ultra, which we're hearing tons of rumors about, that they're actually going to do that. They're going to take that 1-inch sensor, put at least two apertures, variable some kind, and then I'll be happy. But also honorable mention, we talked about it a lot already. An end of year phone. I think the Find X8 Pro is really solid for it's not the same camera specs remotely, but it has 450 megapixel sensors. It has a 3x and a 6x telephoto. The 3x is the same prismatic thing that we've seen on the Realme and on the OnePlus 13 based on the China specs. It's a periscope on the 6x. I think I used it as my main phone while we were in India for MediaTek, and it blew my mind. Like, I think the image processing is so good on that it almost comes up to the X7 Ultra, except you don't get that natural, hardware goodness, right?
Yeah.
And low light is also a little less, right?
Yeah, that's really what blew me away about the Find X7 Ultra was the low light capabilities that you get with that much larger sensor. Like, I was definitely impressed with the Find X8 Pro. I used that probably for 2.5 weeks. Mainly over when I was in India doing camera tests with it. It was absolutely incredible. But yeah, it didn't scratch the itch as much as the Find X7 Ultra did. And especially when it comes down to the industrial design of the phone as well. That Ultra series is just one notch above.
Yeah. So I would pick the Xiaomi on this one, but only just a little bit. It's a tough call. I like them both, and so I think that's good. We got 5 each. If I had to order mine, I think I would put the Pixel on top because I do use it daily, and I don't think the Xiaomi and the Oppo are as daily usable for most people. Even though I'm a camera guru, but I definitely pick one of those two as my second, and then for my third, I think I would pick probably the Galaxy, and then the iPhone, and then the CMF.
I think I need one honorable mention in this list.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
Not a smartphone.
Oh, what is it? The books or the oh, I know. No, wait. X-Reel.
No, it is a phone.
Oh,
but not a smartphone.
Oh. What's
the HMD
the Barbie phone?
Barbie phone.
Oh, yes.
The HMD
you have it?
Barbie phone. I actually just posted my unboxing of this phone today on my Instagram account. I actually got it, I don't know, like a month ago, and I shot it, and it got buried in the bottom of my to-do for editing. And this morning I was like, I got to get something out today. Let me edit this and post it. And I was like, oh, this is so cute and adorable. My daughters came in to my office, and they're like, can I have this phone? And I was like, it's not a smartphone. I don't care. I just want this Barbie phone. It comes with.
Does it work in the US? Is it band compatible?
Yeah, it works in the US. You can go to, I think you can go to Best Buy and buy it.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, you can buy it in the US. It's available. But it is a dumb phone. Does
it run KaiOS? Does it have apps?
It is KaiOS. Okay. There's a couple apps on it. It is so slow. The camera is so bad. But the back of the phone is a mirror, which is incredible. Comes with a beaded lanyard that you can attach to it, like a little necklace. And then it comes with 2 additional replacement back panels to match your style of the day. The other 2, of course, are pink as well. So, whatever your style is, it's got to be pink.
Huh, wow.
But it is just a fun little take on a phone that I think might actually sell well just because of the popularity of the Barbie movie. But yeah, I think HMD did it justice. It would have been nice if it was a smartphone. It would be nice, maybe, I don't know if Motorola did a version of it, of the Barbie phone with the Razr.
Oh my
I
God!
think
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they some. I'm sure
But
someone's probably
hey,
done a
wait,
skin
wait. We
because
got
I've got
we got a
what,
Pantone phone instead. We got a what is it?
but
Mousse chocolate,
mousse chocolate, whatever.
some
Don't they have a pink
color.
version of the Razr? There's a pink Razr out there.
No, there's a pink Razr. Absolutely. Remember, Narav like proudly carried the pink Razr at the Razr launch in his pocket. Remember? But I think no, you're right. It'll be a good partnership, Barbie and Moto on a flip phone. Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be my honorable mention. Just something fun and quirky. If you want a burner phone, get the Barbie phone.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to stand out at all with that burner.
No. I don't know. I don't think I have a runner up. I mean, I've had a few runner ups along the line here, so I think you could pick one of those. So there you go, folks. You have an idea of what we're looking at for 2024. And I think 2025 is shaping up to be just as exciting. So I think it's been a good year overall. I do want, maybe in my honorable mention should be the Vivo X200 Pro, which, a lot of people have, but I don't. And the telephoto on that is still the best telephoto I've ever seen. I forget the Fine X7 Ultra, the Xiaomi 4, like that thing can zoom up to like 20, 30x and you still like get absolutely pristine, super detailed, high quality photos, even in the dark. Best telephoto, absolutely, 100%. The rest of the phone, I don't know. So
yeah, I have it. I was using it this last week. It's good. Some people are like head over heels for this phone. I thought it. I think it's very comparable to the Find X8 Pro. Besides the zoom, like the zoom definitely takes it one notch ahead. But like, as far as everything else, I'm like, eh. And like after you've used it, like if it's just one extra thing that's better, you're not as impressed. It's definitely impressive. It's just I was using so many other phones that did the same things. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
And then for me, Vivo, their software really kind of is a bummer when you compare it to all the other BBK Group devices. So yeah,
agreed.
Get better software, and I'll be happier.
Exactly, it's coming. I'm sure they're figuring it out. I would like to move to the news, and we have a few things that we kind of mentioned already. OnePlus 13R is now official. It exists. There's been all this speculation around it being basically similar to the Ace 5 sold in China, and it's true. Also, there's an Ace 5 Pro coming, which is identical to the 13R, by the way, but has an 8 Elite instead of an 8 Gen 3, and has a slightly bigger battery, like 6100 or something. This is still rumored, the Ace, but the OnePlus 13R is official and will have a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and it will launch alongside the OnePlus 13 on January 7th. This is official from OnePlus. What's your take?
My take is I like the idea. I think this goes back to the original OnePlus and why the brand was so successful in the beginning. It had high-end specs and features, but the pricing wasn't ridiculously high. We still don't know the prices of these phones for the 13 and the 13R, but based off of the Chinese pricing, we know the 13 is going to be more expensive than last year's 12. So like if we just do the conversion from, the Chinese yuan, but like we still don't know what the US pricing is going to be. So if they keep the US pricing the same as last year's 12, I think it'll be incredible. If it goes up by 50, 100, 200 bucks, I don't know. It's going to be less appealing. But if the idea of the 13R, if this is, I don't know, like 550, 600, 700, I don't know where it is. If it's compelling with the price and gives us that, that OnePlus never settle type vibes as far as pricing to performance ratio, I think it could be good.
No, I agree. I think the thing to keep in mind is that we don't know anything officially about 13R other than the 6,000 milliamp hour battery, but correct. Everything else, like we know from the leaks of the Ace 5 and the 8 Gen 3, if they can keep the price close to the 12R and have that, I think that thing is going to be killer, because finally you don't have to deal with cutting corners anymore. Of course, I doubt we'll get wireless charging. That's the thing.
And with the last, I can't remember, last year's one or this year's, right? This year's OnePlus 12R
Yeah, it was this year. It was in
had
January.
it was the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. So it
Correct.
was one generation
So that
behind,
makes
right?
sense, right? That would be a Gen 3.
So I would expect the 13, if we're keeping up this trend, to be one generation behind again, just based off of last year's specs.
Yeah, we'll
Again,
see.
like, but if they get the price right, I don't think that really matters. I mean, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 was definitely a lot better than the 2 when it comes to overall battery efficiency. Because
100%.
that's something that bit the 8 Gen 2 in the ass,
Yeah.
was just battery life wasn't good because of the processor. So if it's the 8 Gen 3, battery life is going to be a whole lot better. Performance is going to be better. And then, everything else stays
It's
the
going to be a
same. I think
win.
it's going to be good. Yeah.
If you have a nothing phone right now, any of them, make sure you hit that software update button because it's rolling out. OS 3, which is delightful, is rolling out. So go nuts. I'll link to the Fandroid story for both the OnePlus 13R and the Nothing OS 3 so you can get the details. But basically, you've heard us earlier how we went head over heels on Nothing OS, and rightfully so. And I think
I haven't played with the beta, so I'm excited.
Neither have I, because it required me wiping my phone when they sent it to me, and I'm like, no, I'm not up for that. I had too many things on my plate, and I had enough Nothing phones around that I could sacrifice one, basically. But I was just too much on my plate to do that. It's very time consuming to do like a backup and then a restore and everything. So check it out. I'm excited about that, just seeing how they've changed things. And another big brand is Samsung. Galaxy Unpacked date has leaked. Supposedly, it's going to be January 22nd. And also in that leak, the reveal is that we're going to get 4 phones. So we're going to get S25, S25 Plus, S25 Ultra, but then we're probably going to get the one that I'm most excited to see, which is that, whatever they're going to call it, S25 Slim or whatever, a thin phone to compete with what supposedly Apple's doing with iPhone 17 Air or Slim or whatever, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this actually turns into. There's been a couple of rumors that have been floating around for a while, and we got, what was it, the Fold special edition from Samsung that was essentially kind of the same concept of, hey, maybe we should make it a little bit thinner and
better camera,
make that screen larger, better camera. Because if you look at the regular series besides the Ultra within the Samsung S lineup, the cameras have been okay at best. I think saying that they're okay is actually being a little bit generous. You do have to go to the Ultra if you want a good camera experience. So if 100%. They can give us a slimmer design to make it stand out a little bit more, and then beef up those cameras at the same time, not necessarily matching what we get on the Ultra, but as a step between the Plus and the Ultra, I think that might be a good place to be at for them.
Yeah, no, I think I'm excited to see how Samsung imagines a thin phone. Like, you have to remember, thin phones have been a thing before, like Moto X, the original, 5mm thick, right? Like, let's wrap our heads around that. Mm-hmm. The Moto Mod phone, right? And that's then. And then there was, what was that company called? Not Doogee, but Joni. Was that? Yeah. Remember that company? They made like a 4-point-something millimeter phone like a decade ago. And I think we saw it at MWC and it was like, holy crap. But so it's happened. We've seen thin phones that are really insanely thin before. And to the point where you hold them and go like, kind of like the V3 in the folding phone, or like, you're going, how is this technically possible?
It's technically possible. It's just if I drop this, it will break.
Right. So this is the big question. The big question to me, what I'm interested in finding out is like, what is Samsung's interpretation of thin? How thin is it going to be? And then how are they going to make it? The Samsung durability is always tops. So how are they going to make it durable? And more importantly, what are they going to cut out to make it so thin? And is it going to be price premium, or like the rumors are right now that the iPhone 17 Air or whatever is actually going to slot between the regular and the Pro in price? So like, this is all these questions that I'm having, which I'm hoping we're going to get answered when I'm in California for the Samsung launch.
We'll see.
Yeah, We'll see. Next up, we have something I'm excited about because I'm a T-Mobile customer. T-Mobile has teamed with Starlink. This is not a new thing. We knew this was coming, but you can now sign up for the beta program, and I have. And what that means is that if you're a T-Mobile customer, you can just get internet in the middle of nowhere via Starlink satellites that have 5G cells on them. And it turns out actually that each satellite has something like 20, or I don't remember the exact number, of actual beam-forming antennas, which each has its own 5G cell that beams down to Earth. And so you intercept one of those with your normal 5G phone. You don't need a special phone. You don't even need a satellite-capable phone for this. As long as it's T-Mobile compatible in bands, suddenly you get signal in the middle of nowhere. And right now, the only thing you can do with that is text. Eventually calls and data. But right now, this is exciting, and I'm hoping to be able to try it out. So I signed up.
I'm excited for this because when Starlink started rolling out, their satellites, and people with RVs went crazy saying, "Hey, we can finally get internet anywhere we go in the world." And then people on boats were like, "Hey, I can now get internet in the middle of the South Pacific."
And we were talking about that with the cruise. It worked for us. It was Starlink.
Yeah. But if you look at those Starlink satellite dishes, they are huge. They've gotten a lot smaller, but they're still about, a foot and a half.
There's a mini now that's about this big, but it's still this big. Like it's the size of a laptop.
It's or slightly larger. And you think, okay, that's the best they can do. And then, they flip a switch and all of a sudden we can connect to it with our phones. Yeah, I think this is taking from the inception of the first Starlink satellite going up and us not knowing, hey, is this actually a viable business plan for SpaceX to do, to, hey, now every T-Mobile customer is going to be able to connect with this. I mean, that's just in the US. Just imagine the deals that, Starlink is doing with carriers across the globe, because they have these Starlink satellites that are giving global coverage for satellite internet. So there's no reason why every carrier in every country is going to have the possibility to connect to some of these satellites, which gives, your service providers a breath of fresh air, because, hey, maybe we don't need to have cell towers in the middle of the desert along a highway. The satellites will be able to pick up those dead zones for us. Or if you're hiking, in the mountains and you go into a dead zone, you're 20 miles away from the closest town, still being able to connect in case of emergencies, things like that. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to hopefully get access to it. Bunch of Chinese phone rumors, releases, whatever. We now have officially heard from Realme about the 14 Pro series. Remember, Realme always has a 14, like a numbered series, which is kind of like their mid-range, and then there's a Pro in that category and a Pro Plus usually. And the Pro Plus is always a very camera-centric phone, so I always pay attention because it tells me what happens in China at the $300 and less price point in terms of imaging, because it's always very it's basically they generally take what they have on the GT, their flagship series, and they scale it down to mid-range. Last year it had that 3x periscope tele on the 13 Plus, 13 Pro Plus, which was wow, for $300 and something, right? So the 14 is now coming, but they haven't given us much other than there is a color changing material on this one.
Based off of temperature.
Yeah. So below 16 degrees Celsius, which is 50 degrees Fahrenheit or something. It changes to it's a white kind of marble-ish glass finish, and it changes to a bluish marble-ish below that temperature. Gimmick, yeah, of course. But I'm more interested to see what the rest of the phone is going to bring to the table. And so, I just thought I'd mention it because those of you who are in markets like India right now, or places where Realme sells the numbered series, I think the 14 Pro, and Pro Plus are coming your way. And I think actually there might also be a 14 Plus. So, I mean, stay tuned. And I've requested a review in it. I don't know if they're going to send me the color changing one, but we'll see how it goes. What are your thoughts on this thing?
I like the idea. You don't have to have a super expensive phone to have something that's unique. And I'll say I have had a couple other devices that do color shift based off of
didn't Techno
different
or
things.
Infinix do something?
Yeah, Techno did one that's based off of sunlight. Like you put it in the sun, and if it's in the sun, it changes
It's
color
UV
based off
based.
of the
Yeah, yeah,
UV.
yeah.
So similar to this, and like color changes based off of temperature. Like I have 30-cent cups in our
Yes.
fridge that we store in our freezer actually, and we use them for ice cream because they change color based off of they're like a transparent white, and then we have they go red, green, or blue depending on the cup, and we put ice cream in them, and as the ice cream warms up, where you put your hand on it, it changes the color. So they're fun to have. The technology is incredibly cheap to do that. Like that's been around for decades, but it's nice to see something a little bit unique to splash things up a little bit within that cheaper smartphone segment.
100%. So, cool. Let's keep our eyes on this one. I'll try to put a link to a story related to that. Speaking of 14, we also have the Redmi Note 14 series now going global. That phone's been out since September. There's nothing so exciting, but I do have a review in it here. So stay tuned for some impressions and maybe an unboxing video in the next, before CS, if I can squeeze it in there. But basically, the 14 series, the Note series specifically of Redmi, has always delivered like 80% of a flagship experience for like half the price. Basically, that's always been their MO. It's kind of like, remember the Redmi K series? That's also kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
the K20 in particular, K20 Pro is like known as like one of the most moddable phones 5 years later now. So anyway, that's phone is pretty cool. They have the Pro Plus as well. They sent me the Pro. We're looking at Dimensity 7300. The Pro Plus gets a Snapdragon 7S Gen 3. 200 megapixel main sensor on the one I have, the 14 Pro. We get a 50 megapixel telephoto, 8 megapixel ultra wide. It's got Hyper OS, which is Xiaomi's new OS, and 45-watt charging, 5500 milliamp hour battery. I mean, the whole thing is really great. Nice big screen. It's just a 1220p display, which is halfway between 1080p and Quad HD. 6.67-inch AMOLED, and this is of course 120 hertz display. So yeah, lots of good stuff there. Stay tuned for my thoughts. Have you played with it? Do you have one yet?
I have not played with it.
Do you do the Note? Do you pay attention? I get it. I don't review it every year, but I get it because it's nice to keep the finger on the pulse of what's going on in that field,
I have not gotten it the last couple of years. I've had it actually sent over to one of my team members in the UK, so he's going to be playing with it and reviewing it. So
we'll get it on Fandroid. Okay,
we'll have a review on Fandroid.
Sweet.
I just won't do it. I got back
from have time for that.
Our OnePlus trip, and I had 6 new phones waiting for me.
Wow.
Some with embargoes that lift before the end of the year, 2 with embargoes that are like during CES, and another, like some.
I got 5
some that's just a new color. But yeah, and then more packages showed up today. So I'm like, gosh, it's the holidays, and I know
this is it's been a rough year this year. I think I need to be more picky about saying no. It's really hard for me because shiny toy, my ADD kicks in, and I'm just like, yeah. But I got 5.
You get that sense of FOMO, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I got 2 that I can't. I got 2 that. Well, I got 3 that I can't talk about, but I've got two that I can't talk about. And then 3 arrived while I was away, and the 3 are one I can't talk about, and then the Note 14, just the one we talked about there. I got the Red Magic 10 as well. So that's kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to that one. Last thing on the list I have here is actually related to one of those phones I can't talk about. But Poco has a bunch of new phones coming, and they're leaking. And the X7 series is, there you go. It's very similar to the Note 14, actually. It's kind of, Poco and Redmi do this all the time.
And I don't know, like, I don't understand. I don't understand. When Poco was first released, it was, hey, we have something that's going to compete with OnePlus, right?
Yeah.
And then about a year and a half later, they said, nah, we're just going to do something a little bit different. And now Poco's just competing with Redmi, which is its own brand under Xiaomi. I don't understand it. Like these Chinese brands, they're like, hey, we have an idea, and then they rethink their idea, and then instead of just killing it, they mooch off of themselves, and they're honestly just competing with themselves at this point. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is Poco is slightly different flavor than like color palette, design. They're similar chassis, but the Poco's are always more like bright and youthful and gamerish, and then the Redmis are always like more like, you know, they feel like they fit more into the Asian tastes, like the pinks and the pastels and the golds and it's really systematic. You look at the spec sheets though, and they're like,
is it a 12-year-old's phone versus a mom phone?
Yeah, but that's maybe slightly
like from a simplistic,
yeah,
like a 12-year-old boy.
It's like
a 12-year-old boy versus a 35, 40-year-old mom.
Not even that, a 20-year-old woman. Yeah, you know exactly. That's what I'm like. Yeah, and in some markets that really works. And also remember, some markets have Poco but not Redmi for sale.
But that's their own choice.
No, I know. But my point is,
I don't understand.
I know, but you remember, it takes money to spin a new brand with its own marketing budget and its own like distribution channel. So in some markets, like maybe a small country, it doesn't make sense to have both. So they started with one and they got that one. And then now they can, having the same models under both brands, they can basically like kind of like cover more of the East Asia market. I think that's what's going on.
I love how you're trying to justify this really bad business decision for them.
I'm not trying to justify what they do. I don't really care. I'm just saying, like, for me, it's more like I'm trying to think, how would it be that it makes sense? And this is one of the ways I think it might make sense. Is like India's get both because India is huge, but like Philippines, right? Not that huge. So like Vietnam, not that huge. So like, what do you do there? Like you and then you launch one brand and you realize, well, if we have the same models, I don't have to launch the other brand, you see?
But if you have one brand, then you can just have one brand and launch the same brand everywhere and get better brand recognition.
I think, you know, there was a time, I think this is, you know, you're right. Ideally, this is how you do it well. In fact, why do we even have it? At that point, like, why do we have Oppo and OnePlus and Realme, right?
So, but this is the problem. So like, I told somebody a couple weeks ago, hey, I'm going to go on this cruise with OnePlus. And they looked at me and they're like, what's OnePlus?
Yeah.
And like within the tech space, most people know who OnePlus is. Yeah. But outside the tech space, nobody knows who they are. But if you add up the sales numbers for BBK Group of all the brands, they are the number one smartphone maker on the planet. Like if you add them all up, that means they would have more brand recognition, more sales than anybody. But because they choose not to and split them up between 5 brands?
Yeah, roughly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, you just diluted yourself by 80% each one of the brands. And yeah, good luck. Good luck with people.
What I'm trying to say is I think there was a proliferation of this idea of creating sub brands for a while. Now they're probably going, oh crap, and we have too much, but they don't want to kill them. I mean, no, Xiaomi did kill CC. Remember, CC was a China only brand and they killed it. So, I mean, it happens.
Like, again, like you're a Chinese company and you launch another Chinese only brand. Like, really? Come on.
I know, it's so weird. Yeah. But you know, you see that in the car world too. Like the sub brands of the sub brands. It's insane. It's all sub brands. All right. So, Nick, do you want to tell folks where they can find you on the internet? All your handles and your social media stuff and your Fandroid goodness?
Definitely. You can find me personally at Nick M. Gray. Usually these days, I'm pretty much only on Instagram and Threads just to keep it simple, but honestly, not on either of those that much. Social media sucks sometimes, and if you stay away, you might be happier in life. But for work-related stuff, I am still online at Fandroids with an S on TikTok and Instagram, or you can find all of our written work on fandroid.com or youtube.com/Fandroid.
And you guys should definitely check it out. Great news items every day on fandroid.com and awesome videos, many of them by Nick on the YouTube channel. I love it. You know where to find me, folks. I'm at Tankgirl, TNKGRL, on all the social media. That means the stupid X, Twitter thing. And then mostly I'm on Blue Sky and Threads and Insta. And then there's also Mastodon. And then there's Facebook. So find me there. Find me and Nick and ask us questions, comments, and socials on Threads for that, because that's where Nick is. And then, the podcast is at mobiletechpodcast.com, but really on any podcast app. So just go find me. I'm on Apple, Google, Spotify, whatever. Yeah, and hopefully if it's your first time here, subscribe. If not subscribed yet, subscribe, all that. Tell your friends, all the good stuff. If your app lets you rate or review the show, consider doing that as well. And then there's a YouTube channel, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. It's got some videos, hands-ons, unboxing, that kind of stuff. So check that out. That's free video content for you. And you know how YouTube works. So like, subscribe, and tell your friends about it, and comment. Yeah. Finally, there's a Patreon. If you want to support me financially, that would be awesome, because I could certainly use it. It's hard to make this podcast every week. It takes time. I have sponsors, obviously, but that's not enough. So you can help me. That would be great. What you get is a video version that's exclusive to the Patreons. You get it in advance, a day in advance. Costs $5 a month to do that. And every show, you get a video version in advance. And you get bloopers, and you get extra content if I go over time. You get to see it in the cruise last week, doing the podcast on the ship with the security announcement right in the middle of the show, which was really fun. I left it in there for the Patreon. So check it out. Please help me if you can. Patreon.com/Tankerl, Patreon.com/TNKGRL. And if you don't want to use Patreon, there's a way to help me out by clicking in the show notes. There's a link to a PayPal. You can donate like $5 for coffee or something. I also want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. I review a lot of phones, so I'm constantly juggling multiple devices. While that's fun, it also means I'm spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. Thankfully, there's Mint Mobile, and that's who I'm teaming up with for today's podcast. If you want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. You've probably seen the Mint Mobile ads featuring Ryan Reynolds, but let me quickly tell you how fantastic their service is, especially for tech-savvy early adopters like us. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current devices and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process only takes 15 minutes, and if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to get you through it. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link, mintmobile.com/mobiletech, to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And thanks, Nick, again for joining me just before the holidays with the 5 best phones of 2024. That was awesome. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Lots of fun, as always.
Definitely. Folks, we'll have another show next week. I'm never stopping despite the holidays, so stay tuned for that. And I'll have Nick on at some point in the future, of course. Until then, cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.